Welcome students in standard 8th class geography chapter 1st resources remaining part. Resources means anything that has some utility to satisfy our need is known as a resource. Such as, my dear student, this is the board. The board is also a resource for me because I required the board and the board is satisfying my needs. So the board is also a resource. Pen, whenever I have to write something or whenever I have to underline something, I require pen and the pen is satisfying my need. So this pen is also a resource for me, such as the duster, such as the benches, such as air, such as if I feel thirsty, water. So water is also a resource. So whichever things can be satisfy our needs, those substances are called as resources. So human beings are also important resource. My dear students, you may think like that the substances which are fulfilling our needs, they are resources. But how human beings are fulfilling our needs? See, human beings are also, by using their skill and technology, they making the new creation from the natural surrounding by using the substances. So that's why human beings are also very important resource. Natural resources. Natural resources means those that are taken from the nature and we are using without much modification. To those substances are called as the natural resources, such as river water, lake water, air we are using, soil we are using, as well as minerals, trees. These all substances are called as natural resources because we are taking from the nature and we are using without much modification. So these resources are called as the natural resources. My dear students, natural resources are broadly classified into 4 categories. You have to remember these. Very important slide. Resources can be classified into 4 categories: use, source, origin and renewability. So step by step, one these category we will study. Based on the use of natural resources, here the resources can be classified based on the use can be classified into 2 categories: actual resources and the potential resources. So which resources are called as actual resources? So actual resources are such resources whose quantity, whose deposits exact proportion, if we know, those resources are called as actual resources. Such as in Germany, rich deposits of coal, one type of mineral which available, and we know the quantity of how much proportion coal deposits are available in the Germany. Such as like that dark soil of Deccan Plateau in Maharashtra, also quantity is known. So these resources comes in the actual resources category. So you have to remember, actual resources means which type of resources whose quantity, whose deposits whose confirmed quantity is known. Those resources are called as actual resources. And potential resources whose quantity may not be known. Those resources are called as potential resources. Such as in uranium found in Ladakh. But the actual proportion, actual deposits we are not knowing how much proportion of uranium is in Ladakh, and presently we are not using those resources. So that such a type of resources are called as potential resources. So potential resources whose quantity will not be known. Next resources based on its origin. Based on the origin, resources can be classified into two categories: abiotic and the biotic. Abiotic means non-living organisms. Non-living organisms or non-livings. So soil, rocks, minerals are abiotic factors. Air is also abiotic factor. So water, soil, rock, minerals, these comes in the abiotic resources. abiotic resources, and biotic resources which are called as living resources. In it, plants and animals can comprises. So, biotic resources are living, plants and animals are biotic resources. So, we are also comes in the animals category. So, we are also a resource. Based on the distribution, we know, my dear students, on the planet Earth, everywhere the land area or the topography of the planet Earth is not equal. Some areas are hilly areas, some areas are desert areas, some areas are island surrounded by the water from all sides. Some areas are temperate areas. So the distribution of mineral deposits are also uneven or unequal. So based on the distribution, these resources can be classified into two categories: ubiquitous resources as well as localized resources. Here the word ubiquitous resources and the localized resources. See, ubiquitous means such a type of resources are found everywhere, such as air we breathe. Water is also available everywhere, but in some or more proportion. So here resources that are found everywhere, like air we breathe are ubiquitous resources, and the localized resources, such resources are found in particular areas, are called as localized resources. Such as some of the places in India, more iron deposits are there, copper deposits are there, as well as in India, Chota Nagpur Plateau, Deccan Plateau are rich in mineral deposits. So here, such a type of resources are called as the localized resources. So based on the distribution, there are two types of resources: ubiquitous and localized. Ubiquitous means which found everywhere, every part of the world, which accessible in more amount to everyone, are called as ubiquitous resources. The next is based on the stock. Based on the stock, the resources can be classified into two categories: renewable resources as well as non-renewable resources. So, the substances which renewable resources are those which get renewed or replenished, which we get it back. Those resources are called as renewable resources, such as sunlight, such as wind energy. These resources we get it back, we can renew as well as we can replenish. So such resources are called as renewable resources. Renewable resources are abundant in the nature. We have to human beings, they are taking much efforts to use more amount of renewable resources nowadays. Non-renewable resources, the resources once it got exhausted, we may take, it require thousands of years to renew. Example like coal and petrol. My dear students, these renewable resources, we know that is thousands of years required, and once exhausted, it very much difficult to get it back or replenished. So what is our duty? We should use them carefully. We should make the plan. We should conserve them for the future generation purpose. And how we can? So here some of the ways are there. With the help of that, we can renewable resources we can conserve for the future generation. The conserving resources means what? Conserving resources, conserving or conservation means not to stop the use of those resources. We need the resources, so we are using. But we should use by making the plan. We should use very much carefully, and we should try to conserve those resources for the future generation. That is called as the conservation of resources. Here, utility. Utility means any usability of a substance, make a substance resource, which I have explained in the first slide. Then the patent means exclusive right over any idea or any invention. When any ideas or inventions, economical or when any brand provide to any invention, then the patent we can use that idea or invention as an economic resource. So here are some of the ways to conserve the natural resources or to conserve the resources. Here, water conservation by using the roof water during the rainy season. In the underground water tanks, we can conserve the water for future generation purpose. Planting more trees. Plantation is also one of the way to conserve natural resources. Then by using the solar energy, using solar or hydropower energy, we can minimize the use of petrol, diesel, LPG gas, etc. Now my dear students, sustainable development, very important point in this chapter, that is the sustainable development. What is the sustainable development? So sustainable development, it is the concept of using resources in balanced way so that our purpose is solved as well as they are also conserved for the future. Here in a very simple manner, my dear students, sustainable development means such a type of way we have to use, that is any resource we should use very carefully, and we have to make plan before using such resource, and we should conserve those resources for the future generation purpose. That is called as sustainable development. Sustainable development, in that previous chapter we studied about the conservation. So conservation also the same meaning. Sustainable development is very important principle conservation is very important principle in the sustainable development. Conservation, in that 3R we can follow reuse, reduce and the recycle. With the help of that, what we can do, we can conserve the resource, we can replenish it, as well as we can reduce the use of those substances, and we can conserve for the future generation purpose. So sustainable development in today's period is very important aspect. We should follow, we should do the conservation of these resources. Cause of that, future generation is totally also dependent on these substances. So we should have to conserve those substances carefully. Thank you.